channel. My name is Emily and I'm the maker behind Magnus May Crochet. In today's video, we're going to be recapping my second craft market. And for anyone new, this is the second video in a 4-part series looking back on my first year selling crocheted plushies at local markets to help me as I start to prepare for my second market season, which is starting in September. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the links in the description below. And with that said, let's get started. So this market is an annual event that happens every September. It is a 2-day event that is kind of a craft market / live music festival. In addition to, I think, 150 craft vendors, there's also live music, kids activities, and a bunch of different food trucks. There are a lot of people that will come and stay the entire day or a good portion of the day to hear all the different bands that are playing and to try out the food vendors. Some of the local bands that play at this event have a really good following, which draws a lot of people to the craft market. I had attended this fair myself as a patron for years, long before I ever learned how to crochet. So I knew that it was a really great and fun fair to be at, and there always seemed to be a steady stream of traffic throughout the entire weekend. This market was also for a really great cause. It helps to fundraise scholarships for local students who are graduating from high school. And many of the high schoolers also come to volunteer at the event, some of whom then help the vendors as they are setting up their booths, and again on the final day when they're starting to pack up and take everything down. In total, I brought 136 plushies to this event, which were valued at $2,495. I will also include all the pattern information in the description below in case you want to make any of these plushies for your markets. So for a full inventory breakdown of everything that I brought to this market, I brought 6 baby dragons, and these were priced at $20 each. And if you saw my first market recap video, then you know these were one of my best sellers at that market. They were extremely popular. I had 3 at that market and they all sold very quickly. And so many people commented on them when they came into the booth that I knew I definitely wanted to bring more of them to this market. I also had 4 Beluga whales priced at $20. 7 blossom turtles priced at $30. And as you can see in the picture, I have 4 color options for these blossom turtles. And at my first market, I had 2 of each color variant, but this pink and blue blossom turtle sold at that first market, and I didn't have time to replenish it. So I only had 1 of those pink and blue turtles, but I had 2 of all the other color variants. I also brought 2 clownfish priced at $15, 6 crabs also priced at $15, and this was a price increase from $12 at my first market to the now $15. $12 was just way too low. As I explained in my first market recap video, I did not do very well this season pricing my plushies. They definitely did not account for the time and effort that goes into making them, especially with a lot of the patterns that I used being ones that require a lot of sewing, which is very time consuming and labor intensive. So I started to try and adjust the pricing as I went through these 3 markets last year, but it's definitely something that I'm going to have to reassess and change up as I go into this second market season. So I also had 4 elephants priced at $25. I brought 2 flamingos priced at $20. And these were a new make. I didn't have these at my first market. I brought 4 foxes priced at $20. 4 hippos, also priced at $20. I also had 2 jumbo dragons, and these were priced at $75. I mentioned this in my first market recap video, but these were my showstopper pieces, and boy did they do their job. They drew so many people into the booth. Tons of people came in to look at these dragons, and then they would ultimately look at all the other plushies in the booth that were smaller and more reasonably priced. I probably shouldn't say reasonably because they were definitely priced too low, but more reasonable in the eyes of the people who were coming into the booth. I also had 1 jumbo flamingo, which was priced at $45. 2 lions, priced at $25. 4 monkeys, priced at $25. And this is another plushie that I increased the price of from my first market. They were originally priced at $20, but they require a ton of sewing. There's a lot of little pieces involved in making these, so I upped the price to $25. I also had 2 owls, and these were priced at $20. They were originally $18 at my first market, so this was another one that I increased the price of. I had 2 penguins priced at $20. These, if you saw my first market recap video, these were also a bestseller, and probably the bestseller because they like flew off the shelf very early into that market. But I just didn't have time to make more of them. They're very labor intensive. They're another one like the monkeys that just have so many small pieces to sew, and there's color changes. So all I had time for was to make 2 of them, but they were definitely a bestseller. I brought 4 polar bears for $25, and these were also another price adjustment from $20 to $25. Again, just due to the amount of sewing that's involved in making them. 1 raccoon for $25, and this was another new make for me. I brought 12 rays, and I priced these at $18, and that's another price adjustment. They were originally priced at $15. I had 4 seals priced at $18, 4 sharks for $18, 3 sloths priced at $20, and these were up from $18. I had 5 speckled turtles, and these were priced at $25. 1 tweed elephant, priced at $30. He does not photograph well at all, which is really disappointing because in person, he was just so cute. The colors were gorgeous, and he had these cute little green glitter eyes that matched some of the speckles in the tweed yarn. So it's a real shame he doesn't come out well in photographs because people really liked him and I loved him. My mom absolutely loved him. It was probably her favorite plushie that I had, and she was so heartbroken when he ended up being sold. I also brought 4 whales priced at $25. So something that was new at this market was I brought a lot more mini plushies, which I really didn't have at my first market. I had a couple bees and I think 1, maybe 2 little rays that I did. But for this market, I brought a much larger variety of mini plushies. So I brought 1 mini bee, which I think was left over from my first market. And originally at that market, I priced these bees at $8, but I increased that price and the price of all the mini plushies to be $10. And that's because I started to then offer a discount for people who bought 3 mini plushies. So they were either $10 each, or if you bought 3 of them, you got them for $24. In addition to the mini bees, I also had 4 mini brachiosauruses. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. 6 mini elephants, 6 mini giraffes, 6 mini monkeys, 6 mini polar bears, 1 mini Ray, 4 mini T-Rexes, and 2 mini Triceratopses. I'm not sure which one of those is the plural version, but I had 2 of them. So again, the minis were all $10 each, or 3 for $24. So another thing that was new at this market that I did was I made some keychains, and unfortunately I don't think I have too many individual pictures of the keychains, and I think the display I had, you can't see them all, but I'll throw the pictures that I do have up there, or the picture of the display, and I plan on making more of these for future markets, so I will definitely remember to have pictures of them going forward for all of you. I wish I had some made right now that I could hold up and show you because they were adorable. But anyway, I brought 2 bunny keychains, and all the keychains were $8, so these were $8. 2 koala keychains, again for $8. 2 monkey keychains for $8. 2 penguin keychains for $8. And 2 unicorn keychains for $8. And that's everything that I brought to this market. Again, that was 136 plushies, and they were all valued at a total of $2,495. I absolutely loved doing this market. I don't know if it was because it was a festival or because of the fundraising aspect, but it just had such a relaxed and chill vibe. Maybe it was just me, and because this was my second market and I was feeling a little bit more comfortable and kind of in the swing of things compared to that first ever market where I was definitely filled with like anxiety the whole time. But I just had a blast at this market. I had great vendors around me, and we just had a really fun time together. This market did begin earlier than most markets, at least most markets in my particular area. It started at 9 a.m. and I am not particularly a morning person, so that part of the market was a little bit rough, but luckily they do allow vendors to set up the afternoon before the market begins. So my tent was already set up and most of my booth supplies was there too. So I just had to get there early enough to put the tablecloths on the tables and get all the plushies up on display. We also had much better weather than we did for my first market. It was a little hot for September, but not too bad, and I'm always cold, so the heat doesn't really bother me. It did rain Saturday night, so when we got there on Sunday, the tent was pretty wet, but since it was the last day of the fair, I just ended up taking all of the sides off of the tent, and the roof dried up pretty quickly in the sun, so I really only had a short period of time where I was kind of hovering around the sides, making sure that no water dripped on the plushies. And after that, it was fine for the rest of the day. I had the absolute perfect location at this market. I was on a small aisle. There were just 4 of us on it, and we were right by the live music and the food trucks, which I think, at least it seemed to be, the most heavily trafficked area in the fair. It was a little towards the back corner, so there were times throughout the weekend where people would come into the booth and they had already purchased a plushie from another Amigurumi vendor, but I didn't mind that at all because there was still a steady stream of traffic the entire weekend, and I always love when other crochet artists get some love too. Being back by the live music, which goes later into the evening than the craft market does. So the market ends at 4, but the live music continues for at least another hour or 2. So So there would be people that were coming in kind of at the close of the market to listen to the bands that were going to be performing their sets later in the evening. And they were walking around, and I made at least another 3 or 4 sales as I was packing up the booth. So it was definitely like the perfect location to be at in that festival. And now for what most people are probably here for, which is the results from this market. Like my first market video, I've broken down the sales per day, and I've also calculated the total overall sales and profit from this market. So on the first day, I sold 3 baby dragons, 1 beluga whale, 3 blossom turtles, 2 clownfish, 1 crab, 1 fox, 2 penguins. Just like the first market, these flew off the shelves, and I wish I had had time to make more of them, but unfortunately there was just a really quick turnaround time between these 2 markets. So going forward, I will know to bring a lot more penguins. I also had 2 polar bear sales, and these were 2 of the sales that I had as I was packing up the booth for people that were still lingering to listen to the music. 1 raccoon, 1 shark, 1 speckled turtle, 1 mini bee, 1 mini brachiosaurus, again, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, 2 mini monkeys, 3 mini polar bears, 4 mini T-Rex, 2 mini triceratops, and 2 penguin keychains. So even in the keychains, penguins seem to be a really hot item. And so that's a total of 33 sales for day 1. And now for day 2, we sold 3 baby dragons, 3 crab, 1 flamingo, 1 fox, 1 jumbo dragon. It was this green jumbo dragon right here. And so I just have to take a minute to tell you a little bit about this sale, because this was actually a really emotional sale for me. And not just because this was one of my highest priced items. It was emotional because for anyone who hasn't seen my first couple videos, my business, Magnus May Crochet, is named after my dog Maggie, whose full name was Magnus and often went by Magnus May or Maggie May. And she was a 12-and-a-half-year-old golden retriever who loved plushies more than anything in this world. She unfortunately passed away in February 2024, which was right as I was starting this crochet business journey. So in addition to naming the business after her, I also post a sign in my booth that has pictures of her and talks about the fact that the business is named after her, and just a little bit about who she was. The woman who was buying this jumbo dragon, it was this green jumbo dragon right here, she stopped to read the sign and she started to get really emotional, and she was like, oh my god, I knew Maggie. And it turned out that she worked in the vet's office that Maggie went to, and Maggie was very sick at the end of her life, and so she spent quite a lot of time at that vet's office. So this woman knew her really well, and so we were both getting really emotional, and it kind of just felt like Maggie loved plushies more than anything, led somebody to fall in love with this plushie and adopt him and bring him home. So thanks for listening to that little interlude about my very emotional jumbo dragon sale. But back to the results. I also sold 1 owl, 1 ray, and I'm still so genuinely surprised. I remember the rays being like one of the most popular items, but they really weren't. Like, they didn't sell that much. So I guess it's really good that I'm going back and doing these recaps, because I am definitely misremembering what the most popular items were. Okay, I also sold 2 sloths, 3 speckled turtles, 1 tweed elephant. We sold this guy and my mom was both happy and sad because she loved him. She called him Tweety. We also sold 1 whale, also 1 mini Brachiosaurus, and again, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly because I've had to say it like 4 times in this video. 1 mini elephant, 3 mini giraffes, 2 mini monkeys, 1 mini ray, 2 bunny keychains, and lastly 1 unicorn keychain. So that is a total of 29 sales for day 2 compared to 33 sales for day 1, which I think tracks because there was definitely a steady stream of traffic in both days. So for the overall results for this market, we sold 73 plushies in total, which generated $1,119.56 in sales. I paid $65.86 in sales tax, $19.72 in credit card fees. My booth fee for this fair was $205. And so that gives us a grand total profit of $828.98. And I don't think I mentioned this in my first market recap video, but that profit does not include the cost of actually making the plushies. So it doesn't include the yarn or the polyfill or the safety eyes, anything like that. I did try and factor an estimated cost into the actual price of the plushies, but unless I used like an entire skein of yarn or a whole thing of polyfill, it'd be really difficult for me to like accurately assess the cost of each individual plushie. So I just estimated, and that overall profit is just not inclusive of the cost of materials. This was my favorite market that I've done so far. As I mentioned, it was just such a relaxed and fun time. I'm actually already signed up to do this market again this coming September. So you're definitely gonna see me in the next couple weeks on this channel and for sure on Instagram and TikTok, market prepping for that event. And as you can see from the results of this market, I am definitely going to need to have a lot of plushies in my inventory. As you'll see in next week's video, this wasn't even my best market that first year, but it's still my favorite market because I just had so much fun at it. It was such a relaxed atmosphere, and I was on this small aisle with 3 amazing vendors. We all got to know each other really well over that weekend, and we just had such a great time together. Their products were all absolutely stunning. I, of course, had to buy something from each one of them. And while I know I'm still very new on YouTube, I just have to give them all a shout out and show you what I bought from their shops. So the first vendor I was with is a fellow dog lover. And like me, her dog was the inspiration behind her business. Her name is Kathy, and she calls her dog Nutmeg her first business partner, though she does have another business partner, Amy. Amy wasn't at this particular fair, but I've met her a couple times since, and she is a lovely person. Kathy and Amy's business is called The Mutt Mix, and they sell a large variety of apparel. I personally own quite a bit of it. At this particular fair, I purchased this tank top from them, and you can see that their clothing items have this outline of a dog, which I believe is based on Nutmeg, Kathy's dog. And inside of the dog outline, I don't know if you can see, but all the different dog breeds listed there. And on the back of the shirt is their business tagline, which is a mixture of the finest ingredients, because their business is celebrating mixed breed dogs. They have a really beautiful story behind the fact that they're trying to build a brand inspired by positivity. And I would butcher that story if I tried to tell it. They tell it so much better than I do to every person that comes up to their booth. But definitely check them out. I'll have their details in the description below. They are really amazing people, and their clothing is so comfortable. In addition to this tank top, I think I have a ski hat, and I have 2 long sleeve crew necks that I absolutely love. I wear the heck out of them in the winter time. I am always cold and I work from home, so I love wearing long sleeve comfy clothes. And I am never more disappointed than when I go to pull one of those out to wear in the morning and they are in fact both in the laundry. The second vendor on our little aisle is Katunga Fashion, which I am probably butchering the name of. Patrice, if you're watching, I am so sorry. I did try and look it up in Swahili, but I'm still probably pronouncing that wrong. The business owner's name is Patrice. He is a wonderful person. He really helped Kathy out in setting up her booth because she was all by herself. So he really came through for her. And from Patrice, I got this beautiful hand-woven tote bag with an elephant on it. This was staring at me the entire first day of the market. He had it hung in the direction of my booth. And if you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll have seen my giant wooden carved elephant picture that hung behind me in those videos, and I have elephants all over my apartment. I just love them so much. So when this was staring at me the entire day, I just had to have it, and I scooped it up before anyone else could. And the last vendor that was on our little aisle was Alex Evora Green Arts. Again, you're probably not watching Alex, but I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Alex had the most stunning jewelry I have ever seen in my life, including some amazing like big statement necklace pieces. And I wish I had taken photos of his work because I couldn't possibly describe them and do them any justice. But definitely check him out because, again, they were gorgeous. Just to give you a very small example of his work, I got these gorgeous elephant earrings from him. Of course they were elephants, but they are really gorgeous, as is all of his work, and you should definitely check him out. My best sellers at this market were my baby dragons, my crabs, my speckled turtles. The minis that I brought to this market were also very popular, specifically the monkeys, the giraffes, the polar bears, and the T-Rexes, all of which were new to this market. And lastly, my keychains were also very popular. These were, again, a new product at this market. In particular, the bunny keychains and the penguin keychains sold out completely. I think we would have also seen the penguins on this bestsellers list if I had had time to make more than 2 of them. The 4 that I brought to my first market and these 2 that I brought to this one all really flew off the shelves very quickly on the first day of each of those markets. They were very popular, and I definitely think we may see them on the bestsellers list again in the future. But the baby dragons and the crabs are clearly still going very strong, and it was nice to see the speckled turtles make the list this time around. I just think they're so cute, and I'm actually really upset that the speckled yarn I used for their shells has been discontinued by Michaels. I have turtles for this upcoming market that you will see in a future video, and their shells are still kind of multicolored, but they're not quite as speckly, so I may ultimately need a new name for my speckled turtles going forward. But you should definitely subscribe to this channel and check out next week's video if you want to see what was popular at my best market yet. So that's all for today's video. Thank you all so much for joining me in looking back on my second market. If you had a particular favorite plushie that I brought to this market, definitely let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the links in the description. Next week's video is going to be another market recap video, and this time we will be recapping my best market to date. Until then, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.